My worst fear came true. These are the first words I spoken to my dear friend when I was diagnosed with HIV. Why is that? I question. I take a pill every day. I'm healthy. I'm fit. So I look back in my past, in the media, in the news, the movies. I want to take a quick look at that here today. Here are some examples of news clips and commercials.
Scientists at the National Centers for Disease Control in Atlanta today released the results of a study which shows that the lifestyle of some male homosexuals has triggered an epidemic of a rare form of cancer. Robert Bazell now in Atlanta.
Bobby Campbell of San Francisco and Billy Walker of New York both suffer from a mysterious, newly discovered disease which affects mostly homosexual men, but has also been found in heterosexual men and women. The condition severely weakens the body's ability to fight disease. Many victims get a rare form of cancer called Kaposi sarcoma. Others get an infection known as pneumocystis pneumonia. Researchers know of 413 people who have contracted the condition in the past year. 1/3 have died and none have been cured.
Death didn't scare me. It was living with this for a long time. That's more frightening than death.
Investigators have examined the habits of homosexuals for clues.
I was in the fast lane at one time in terms of the way that I lived my life, and now I'm not.
The best guess is that some infectious agent is causing it. Today, researchers here at the National Centers for Disease Control said they had found several cases where people who had been sex partners both had the condition. The scientists say this probably means they are dealing with some new, deadly, sexually transmitted disease. The investigators see this as a serious public health problem.
From an epidemic point of view, there have been more deaths from Kaposi sarcoma and pneumocystis pneumonia than have occurred with all the cases of toxic shock syndrome and the Philadelphia outbreak of Legionnaire's disease combined.
Researchers are now studying blood and other samples from the victims, trying to learn what is causing the disease. So far, they have had no luck. Robert Bazell, NBC News, Atlanta.
There is now a danger that has become a threat to us all. It is a deadly disease and there is no known cure. The virus can be passed during sexual intercourse with an infected person. Anyone can get it, man or woman. So far it's been confined to small groups, but it's spreading. So protect yourself. And read this leaflet when it arrives. If you ignore AIDS, it could be the death of you. So don't die of ignorance.
That was a public information film.
At first, only gays and IV drug users were being killed by AIDS. But now we know every one of us could be devastated by it. The fact is, over 50,000 men, women, and children now carry the AIDS virus. That in 3 years, nearly 2,000 of us will be dead. That if not stopped, it could kill more Australians than World War II. But AIDS can be stopped, and you can help stop it. If you have sex, have just one safe partner, or always use condoms. Always.
The Grim Reaper was a commercial aired in Australia, and it sparked quite a bit of controversy. I guess the Grim Reaper was depicted as a gay man killing women and small children. I remember watching these news clips, people dying of this disease, and it scared me quite a bit. I have an early childhood memory of my mother watching Oprah, and it was depicting young gay men dying of AIDS. And I was curious and asked my mother what was going on, and she turned to me and said, "You'll never have to worry about that." So I don't know. Later on, when I discovered, well, when I realized I was gay, I was like, well, I guess I will have to worry about it after all. In my early teenage years, I watched a memorable movie called And the Band Played On. It was historical facts of what happened in the U.S. About HIV and AIDS and how it came about. I believe you can watch the full-length movie on YouTube. Also, there's another movie that I watched a few times called Philadelphia, starring Tom Hanks. He depicted a gay man who came down with AIDS, and he tried to keep it a secret, but his secret was exposed. Every time I watched that movie, I cried. He did a phenomenal job. After being diagnosed and shared this with my close family and friends, I wondered if they would treat me differently. I was kind of afraid of that, and thankfully the answer is no. I had some silly thoughts in my mind about will they be scared to try my food that I prepare, get physically close to me, and very silly thoughts. Finally, I was able, those thoughts went away because they were so untrue. I want to share an experience at the dentist office. The first time I visited, I had to fill out a form naturally. There's a check mark box for if you had AIDS before, and I never have had that. But I was scanning up and down, and I could not find HIV, so I put in the other box that and the medication I take, and I'm undetectable in my doctor's name. So I handed it in, and the receptionist made a large gasp, held the paper in her hand, and said, "Excuse me, sir, did you forget to fill something on this form?" And I turned to her with a room full of people, and I said, "No, everything's correct, and everything's on the form." So I was quite upset about that. When I was on one-on-one with the dentist, I pointed out what happened, and he apologized, and he agreed with me, yes, HIV and AIDS are two completely different things. So I know a couple years ago, I probably would have not said a word and just take it, but no. Now I'm stronger, and it needs to be said, it needs to be spoken. So I expect in the future that the form will have changed. And hopefully the attitudes of the receptionists. I've gone back and they have been pleasant with me and they seem fine, so that's good. Ignorance is not bliss, I guess. I was told by the nurse by the healthcare center when I was diagnosed that I do need to disclose that to the dentist. It's very important for my health. It's not for the dentists because they protect themselves the same as they would for any patient. I might possibly, for some procedures, I might need to take antibiotics prior to the procedure, so they do need to know this. This is and was me living with HIV. It is a working process and losing self-stigma along the way. Thank you for listening, everyone. Take care, everyone.